Kendra Fauth-Edwards, and welcome to the Cardon Resource Hub. And today I'm really excited to have Stasia with us to kind of talk about something that's really near and dear to my heart, because it's one of those situations, the important documents that every person should have on hand. And it's one of those things that you don't really think about until you have to, or you're in a crisis situation. But I'm always about, let's proactively think about what do we need, and really help counsel people around us on the documents that they need. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Stasia.
Great. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity, Kendra. I actually love talking about this stuff. Maybe you and me are the only ones, but actually there's much life to be had in talking about estate planning. Truly. I think that a lot of people fear talking about it because it calls into big questions about mortality. But really, what you end up getting to do is talk about the people that are most important to you and the legacy of generosity that you want to leave for them. So, if you think about it in that creative and life giving manner, it becomes a whole lot more approachable and a whole lot less scary. Um, and what I will also tell you is some people think, well, if I don't have a lot of money, do I really need to conduct any estate planning? Oh, yes, you do. If you have a home, a vehicle, a bank account, guess what? You have an estate. It doesn't mean that you have to have a private jet, right? Or a house in the Hamptons. You have an estate. And so beyond that, in the context of estate planning, of course, you're talking about where things might go. Um, but what you're also talking about is who are the people that are going to come alongside you while you're still very much here and alive, who would be able to step in if you need somebody to speak with your medical providers or if you need help managing financial transactions. Um, Really big things, because if you're not able to do those things, wouldn't you rather be empowered to choose who does that stuff for you, right? So in the context of estate planning, I always recommend that people have basic documents in place. And of course, it can get way more complex depending on what assets you have and what needs you have. But the basic documents that our law office prepares for people when they come in to talk about estate planning, we almost uniformly prepare an advance directive for healthcare decisions, which is also sometimes known as a healthcare directive. And that document allows you to name a primary agent and as many alternates as you would want to be able to step in, talk to your doctor, and indicate what care should be administered or withheld if you're not able to make choices for yourself. As long as you're able to do that, nobody's going to take that right away from you. So that's the very quick flyover of that document. There's much more to be said about it, but that one is essential. The second is a durable power of attorney for finances. And similar in nature to a healthcare directive, it allows you to indicate an agent and as many alternates as you would want to be able to step in and help pay your utilities, file your taxes, talk with an insurance company, Medicare, help apply for Medicaid, big stuff, right? So, by virtue of you being empowered in choosing who you want to do these things, it typically avoids the need for a legal guardian to be appointed for an individual if they don't have those documents in place. And so I never say that to instill any kind of fear. I just say that because you get to choose, and wouldn't you rather? So that's a good first step. Talk to your people, decide who you would want to ask to do that, and be prepared that they might ask you to do the same thing. So turnabout's fair play, right? And then last but not least, we always recommend that a last will and testament and or a trust be part of a person's estate planning dossier. And that can look very different for different people, but a last will and testament allows you to choose the people that you would want to administer your estate, allows you to choose beneficiaries, allows you to choose where you want your precious thimble collection or snow globe collection to go, allows you to indicate money that you would want to leave to charitable organizations, how you care for pets, all sorts of creative things that you necessarily wouldn't think about. A will allows you to do that. As far as special considerations in estate planning, especially for some families that might be working with Cardon or have a loved one that may end up needing care. If you have a loved one that may be looking towards long-term care planning considerations, it's really important to talk with an advocate who's familiar in that area, because it's pretty complex and not all attorneys are familiar with it. Also, if you have loved ones with special needs that might be beneficiaries to an estate plan, it's a really specialized area of the law. So You finding the right advocate that is the best fit for you is paramount. So talk to like-minded people, see who they were comfortable with. It may or may not be the same person as you. It might be somebody in a large firm in a big skyscraper. It might be somebody in a smaller practice that's a little bit more personal. But there are so many ways that this process can be initiated that can be approachable and not scary. And the last thing that I'll mention is that one thing that sometimes gets overlooked is the power of passwords and digital assets. Please, please, and I'm speaking to myself here, please keep lists of your usernames and passwords. It is a never-ending journey. It is very useful to do this. I have found a few resources for this. One here in Indianapolis, if you're familiar with Joy's House Adult Day Services, they have something called a care kit, and it allows you to indicate assets, passwords, who's your electrician, what are your medical interactions, all sorts of things that loved ones might need to know if you have an emergent event. Because the estate planning documents are wonderful, but the reality is people that you love are going to be helping to carry out wishes for you. So for them to be as armed with as much information as they can is paramount. So we can help draft the documents, and you get to talk to the people that you love about what your wishes are. And frankly, it really can be an illuminating and a life-giving conversation. So I encourage you to get it done. Thanks.
So, Stacia, is there a perfect time to do this? Is it too soon, too late? When should someone make sure that they have the right documents in place and on file?
That's a great question. My self-serving answer, of course, is everyone should do this, but truly, it's never too soon. My son just turned 18 and he now has a healthcare directive and a power of attorney in place. Um, and we do work with clients all the way up into, well, close to 100 years old. But what I will tell you is that it's vitally important to do this at a point where an individual still has mental capacity to do it. Um, and if it reaches a point where an individual does not understand the extent of their property or the people that they would want to be involved in decision making for them, in that case, they may not be able to create an estate plan for themselves. There are other options to care for that person that might involve guardianship or more court involvement, but it's so much better, more economical, and empowering to do it sooner rather than later.
So, Stacia, if you have these documents, where should you keep them or where should you file them so that family members know where to go? What's the best place? What's the best practice? Where to keep the documents?
That is the age-old great question, and frankly, there's a whole lot of different ways that individuals manage this. Um, some law offices will keep originals on site, on premise. They may have vaults to do it. Smaller practices like mine, we do not keep the originals. We do give them back to clients. There's not a right or a wrong way to address it. For people that do have the originals in their possession, they're obviously important. Some people will keep them in a safe deposit box. That's perfectly acceptable with the caveat that somebody else besides you needs to be able to authorize to access it, right? So if you're unavailable, it's really important for another trusted person to be able to access that with the financial institution in order to avoid the need for a court order in order to open it, because that is not it's not a good use of time or resources. So possibly a safe deposit box. Some people have a lockbox at home. Um, you'll always receive PDF versions from any attorney that's working with you. And I don't necessarily recommend this, but I've had several sweet elderly clients say that they keep their estate planning documents in a freezer bag in their freezer because it's somewhat fireproof, it's somewhat waterproof, and somebody will clean out the freezer.
Okay, that's really funny, and I could see that. So I really appreciate your time. It's great information, and it's something really near and dear to my heart, especially the passwords, all of those kinds of things to make sure you have that conversation, that you have these documents. And I think the best part of this is you can't start too soon.
Agreed. Yeah, thanks for being excited about it with me.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Appreciate your
My
time.
pleasure. Yeah, you too. Thank you.